get rolling here. I see we have some people watching, so that's good. There are a decent amount of questions to get through, so I kind of want to get started right on time here. So hello everyone and welcome. I hope you're having a great week so far, even though it's only Monday. I want to mention two quick administrative things. First is I wanted to mention that I did a YouTube review of a protein product that I was sent for free. So if you want to check out the YouTube channel, if you're watching the Hangout through that, it's just in my lists. I created a playlist called Reviews. I'll be reviewing other products soon. My goal is to give you some honest feedback about if something actually tastes good and if it's worth your time and money to consider it. So if you have something you'd like me to review, let me know, and if possible, I could buy it and try it. I have some protein bars and things like that I can kind of go through that I haven't opened yet. So I'm going to give those a shot and record it and give my honest opinion as I'm eating it. So the other thing I wanted to mention was that regarding the Hangouts, please give me some feedback as to if my answers to your questions are helping you or what I could do to improve, things like that. Just please let me know, because my goal here is to help you. So please let me know, how I'm doing, or if I need to provide more answers, or if it's a good enough answer. So please let me know. All right, let's get started with the questions. The first question comes from Pat. Pat says, "This has been a really miserable week for me. I'd be interested in ideas for redirecting emotional upsets away from using food as medication." Pat, thank you for asking that question. That's a great one because emotional eating can affect everyone, me included. Some tips as to how to manage that, I would say work on managing your stress. Be it yoga, meditation, a relaxation technique, something like that where you can use something else as an outlet for your frustration with what's going on in your life to kind of de-stress rather than using food for that, because food is kind of a short-term solution in that you feel okay when you're eating it, but doesn't actually attack the problem of getting rid of your stress. Do a reality check. What that means is your hunger physical or emotional? So if you don't have a rumbling stomach, you're probably not really hungry. Give it some time, try to let it pass, and you could do something called the broccoli test, and that's basically if you're feeling like eating, would you eat a bowl of broccoli? If the answer is no, you're probably not hungry and it's more of an emotional reaction. Now, I know that seems kind of silly, but identifying in the moment when something's emotional rather than actual physical helps you to actually deal with it. So the identifying part is huge. It's a huge first step. The other thing I'd recommend is on MyFitnessPal, there's a section for notes at the bottom. So other than just logging what you're eating, make a note for the day on MyFitnessPal that includes how you're feeling when you eat, how hungry you are. And over time, if you have those notes to look back on, when you do a reflection as to how you can handle it differently next time, you may see patterns emerge that are kind of revealing how you're feeling and your desire to eat foods due to that emotion. So that seeing that pattern again it's important to identify that, and then you can kind of work on breaking that pattern, but you have to identify it first. Another thing would be to take away temptation. So don't keep comfort foods in your home if they're hard for you to resist. If you're kind of feeling angry, upset, postpone your trip to the grocery store until you have your emotions back in check. That way you're not impulse buying things that are not helping you with your goals. If you're going to have a snack, make it a healthier snack. So, I'm not a big fan of snacking between meals, but if you feel that need and it's tied to an emotion, pick something that will further your goals rather than detract from them, meaning something like fresh fruit, vegetables with a Greek yogurt dip, unbuttered air pop popcorn, something like that. And I stress this for everything really, is that learn from your setbacks. If you have an episode of emotional eating, forgive yourself and start fresh the next day. It's important to move on without guilt. So focus on the positive changes you're making in your habits and give yourself the credit that you're due for having made those changes, and that'll lead to better health overall. So it's important to compare how you're doing now with how you would have done in a similar situation in the past. You can't just compare how I did yesterday with how I'm doing today, because the emotional state you're in may be different from day to day. So it's important to always be looking back farther as to how far you've come, and that can kind of help you with that breaking the chain between emotional eating and your goals of fat loss. All right, the next question comes from Erica. Erica asks, when you were starting out on your journey, what are some ways you kept yourself motivated to stick to your diet and workout routine? I know I use a lot of self-talk. Thank you for the question, Erica. When I first got started, I kind of had an impending deadline of my daughter being born, so the clock was ticking and I had 9 months to go before I was a father. So every single day, I had little reminders about what my internal and external motivations were. The crib, her bedroom being painted, sonograms, things like that. It was just these constant reminders of like, look, you have this deadline looming. So the goals are right in my face constantly, and then I had those goals internally and externally. So I think it's important to be aware of what your motivations are for wanting to be healthier and to lose weight. I don't think it's going to be helpful for everyone to have things forced into a timetable like that. That was just the situation that was unavoidable for me that worked. The reason I say that is generally the slower you lose the weight, the more resistant that weight is, that you solidify at as far as coming back. I'd also recommend looking to inspiration from others that have either already achieved what you're looking to achieve or currently trying to achieve it and maybe are just a little bit farther along on the journey than you are. You can kind of draw inspiration from them to kind of give you some motivation. Something that I'm really big on is find ways to get excited about the process itself. You could take that excitement from the other inspirations, you can build on it, you can talk to other people about what you want to achieve, carry that momentum forward. When I talk about, people still ask me, like, why are you still, eating healthy? You're already not fat anymore. What's the deal with you? I talk about, I'm excited to see how strong I can get in the gym. I have this long-term goal of a one-armed pull-up that's going to take a lot of time and practice, and I'm going to have to drop some weight and work on my pull-ups continuously. And it's like I'm excited about the process of being there. It's not the goal so much, it's kind of the learning experience and the growing experience that I'm pumped up about. So whenever I go to train toward that goal, or I'm making better food choices toward that goal, I'm pumped up about it. And that really helps kind of keep you with a laser focus as to what your goals are. And lastly, I think that having support from a community like the photocracy groups or even your team class, that's a huge factor. There are other photocracy groups other than the ones you're in as part of the group that may be able to offer some additional support besides your classmates and myself. I'm a member of a bunch of them. The Welcome to Photocracy group is great. There's one that's for 100 plus pounds to lose. There's a fat loss one. There's one for different exercises. I've joined the groups that are based around my geographic location, so there's usually a photocracy group for each city for the most part. They're not as active as some of the other groups, but that it depends on the city, I guess. So again, that's other places where you can be motivated by others, and when you need it, you can borrow motivation from them by asking for, just, hey, I'm kind of down, what do I do? Other people will kind of flock in and just kind of help you out as far as that goes. All right. Our next question comes from Michelle. Michelle asks, or says, I have a very bad habit of getting up in the middle of the night to snack on things. Obviously, if those things are candy or cookies or something of that sort, it's a horrible habit. But if I choose something like string cheese or a healthy option, is it still so bad? They say that when you eat frequently, it keeps your metabolism up. Wouldn't eating through the night just keep it going, or is this a horrible habit no matter what is eaten? Thank you for that question, Michelle. That's a great question. Eating frequently does not really have an impact on metabolism, any discernible difference. So that's just wanted to get that out of the way first. From my understanding of the issue, if this is something you find yourself doing often, like every night, yes, obviously a more healthful option, like low-calorie, light string cheese or something, is better than eating cookies. However, I would kind of want to attack it from a different angle of what can you do to eliminate the waking up in the middle of the night in the first place by changing other things around your bedtime routine. So what I mean by that is I've made a blog post on my website about sleep habits. It's called I Hope This Article Puts You to Sleep. I'd like for you to check that out. But the cliff notes of that is basically that, get into a bedtime ritual where you have a similar bedtime each night. Cut down on your computer screen time and phone usage before bed because they emit a blue light that wakes you up. So if you're basically laying in bed looking at a screen, that blue light is telling your body stay awake. So it's going to impact how well you can get to sleep and how well your sleep quality is during sleep. Some other things you can do are make your room as dark as possible. And peaceful too, so decluttered, not a lot of distractions, things like that. And you could possibly look at supplemental melatonin to help you get to sleep and stay asleep. Melatonin is what your body produces according to your circadian rhythm. Circadian rhythm is just your cycle during the day of it's time for bed, it's time to wake up. So all the things I mentioned, if you don't do them currently, your melatonin production is probably a little bit out of whack. It's a natural hormone your brain makes that says it's sleepy time. And all the things you do, like I mentioned, the computer screens and the not having a strict bedtime, they can basically make it harder for you to sleep. And that's the last thing you want, to be able to function, especially if you're trying to lose fat. Basically, if you don't get your sleep in order, you're going to be like ice skating uphill as far as trying to get healthier, as far as that goes. It's basically one of the cornerstones of health is good quality sleep. Some other things are start out your day with a protein and fat-based meal and maybe include some fruit in there. Um, since you mentioned you're snacking in the middle of the night, I would say try to get your calories in whole meals and avoid snacking. Maybe like 3 or 4 solid meals a day instead of grazing. The other thing is I would say ensure that you're getting enough food throughout the day rather than trying to fit all of your food in at the end of the day. The reason for that is if you basically are eating all your food at the end of the day, your body is digesting longer, and that can keep you awake. Especially you don't want to get your protein in before bed because protein is the hardest food to digest and takes longer, it takes more energy. So if you didn't eat your protein all day and you need to get it in to meet your goal and you're trying really hard, it's going to keep you awake while you're digesting it. So I generally myself, and what I tell other people to do, is try to get your protein in as early as possible and get to your goal early. That way you can have some carbs later in the day because carbs will help you fall asleep. So it's better to kind of front load your protein and have some breathing room as far as what you can eat for like dinner and like maybe a carb-based bedtime snack. That'll help you sleep better, it'll help you with digestion, and it'll help you reach your protein goals because you'll be planning your day to be protein heavy early on, and then it's all easy from there. Beyond that, that would kind of, what you're describing would all, if it is every night, would kind of fall into something that's called night eating syndrome, and that's kind of beyond my scope of knowledge, and that may be worthwhile mentioning to something like a doctor if what I'm mentioning is not helping you. All right, so this is a lightning round. There's a bunch of shorter questions with shorter answers, so I'm just going to get through them. The next question comes from Motz. Motz asks, can a sudden drop in weight be a bad thing? I lost 3 pounds just over the weekend, even though I felt like I might have been eating too much since I was visiting with family. Thank you for the question, Motz. I don't think sudden drops in weight like that are a bad thing at all. This is essentially the opposite of what happens when we have a sudden gain in weight, when we eat more than we're used to. Like say if you eat more carbs than you normally do or you eat a bunch of salty food, your body adjusts by storing more water and more food, and you can gain weight really suddenly. So this is basically just the opposite mechanism at play here. Our bodies are constantly fluctuating weight throughout the day, just based on water and food intake. I know when I wake up in the morning, by the time I go to bed, I'm 10 pounds heavier every day. It's natural. And depending on what time I wake up, if it's a different time, my weight will be different day to day, not counting into effect any weight loss changes, something like that. The bad news is the bigger you are, the more you weigh, the bigger the fluctuations you can expect. Given that I was 410 something pounds, even now when I'm around 220, I still can see up to 10-pound fluctuations day to day because of that, because I still have some of those fat cells that, given the opportunity, they refill with water and they can hold water. I'm basically a camel at this point where I can bloat up to, I think I've gained 30 pounds in 48 hours just by eating more carbs and salt than I normally do on a daily basis, and it feels awful, but unfortunately that's just one of the side effects of having been heavy to begin with, and then dropping the weight is you have these empty fat cells that just want to be refilled even if it's just with water. So again, no, sudden drops are not a bad thing. You may need to kind of get used to them to see your weight fluctuate up and down. If you're doing more than once a week weigh-ins, I recommend you looking at the average weight for the week rather than look at the day-to-day things, or it will drive you crazy. And it's coming from personal experience where even I used to weigh in once per week, and it would drive me crazy because some weeks I gained 5 pounds, and then the next week I'd lose 8 pounds. So I started weighing in every day, and this is not for everyone because some people will obsess over it, but I weigh in every day, and I only care about the average week to week. And that's how I kind of gauge my own progress. So, all right. The next few questions come from Ted. So thank you for all the questions, Ted. Let's see. Ted's first question is, do you recommend avoiding snacking and sticking to 3 meals a day? So I think I mentioned this, but I'm not a fan of snacking personally because the more I eat between meals, the hungrier I get. and I would rather eat a large meal when I'm actually eating. Um, One thing I do is I eat smaller meals at the beginning of the day, and then I kind of ramp up the calories. So I might have a 300 calorie breakfast, 600 calorie lunch, 700 calorie snack, 750 calories, or sorry, 700 calorie dinner, 750 calorie snack before bed. That works best for me. And the reason I'm saying that is that meal frequency and size are individual preferences. So in the end, it's really about what works best for you, what keeps you full, what gives you constant energy, and what allows you to still make your goal at the end of the day as far as calories and protein. All right, and Ted's second question is, assuming one does have a snack other than dairy, what protein-dense snacks do you recommend? Ted, I'm not sure why you'd eliminate dairy. I checked your initial survey. I didn't see anything about a dairy intolerance or anything. So unless you have specific issues with dairy, there are some great dairy choices like Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, cheese sticks, protein shakes. But other than dairy, things like beef jerky, hard-boiled eggs, packet of tuna, those type of things are good snacks that are higher in protein. And this kind of segues into your next two questions, but I think that protein bars and shakes can be decent snack options, given that I've already said I'm not a fan of snacks. You kind of have to watch the nutritional information, though. Most protein bars are basically candy bars in disguise, and most protein shakes are not that high in protein depending on where you buy them from. So your next question was, do you know of any protein powder shakes that come in individual packets that you recommend? So I rarely use protein powder anymore myself, but when I do, my go-to brands are MyProtein, Optimum Nutrition, Dymatize, and True Nutrition, depending on what I want. Those brands are ones I'm familiar with that I've tried myself, and they unfortunately do not offer single-serving packets. However, I am a big fan of Quest Nutrition's protein bars, and they do offer protein powder, and they do offer it in single-serving packets, but I've never tried it yet. So I can't specifically say I recommend this because I haven't tasted it, I haven't bought it, whatever. So that is an option, but I can't personally say it tastes good or it's worth the money. It looks like a single-serving protein shake that gives you 20 grams of protein is about $2, not factoring in shipping. You can buy them in like boxes of 24. So it does exist, just nothing that I've tried myself. I've been meaning to try their protein, but I just haven't gotten around to it because I still have like 5 pounds of protein from last year that I just haven't gotten through yet. All right, and Ted's last question is, do you recommend protein bars? I'm going to paraphrase Cookie Monster and say that protein bars are sometimes food. I don't recommend eating them every day as a staple part of your diet, but my favorite are Quest bars, and they also make Quest protein potato chips, and they kind of taste like Air Pop Pringles. Quest products are especially good tasting, the newer flavors, things like cookie dough, what's the other one? S'mores is pretty good. They're really tasty, and you can heat them up in the microwave, and they actually act like a dessert item. But they're on the expensive side. It works out to be about $2 or more per bar bag. My local grocery store has them for $2.50 a bar. I'm kind of a penny pincher, so that doesn't work for me. I usually look on Slick Deals and look for like a sale, and I'll buy a bunch then. Oh Yeah bars are about half as cheap, and taste is mostly the same, but I'm not a big fan of the texture, so I think I'd rather have a Quest bar. I really only eat protein bars when I'm traveling, or like when I go to the movies, I'll take some with me just as a quick snack. The reason is that I don't eat them often is I find protein bars to be hyper palatable, meaning they're really sweet, lots of artificial sweeteners, and they don't really make me feel full despite how much protein and fiber they have. And I could probably eat 3 or 4 or more in a serving or in a sitting. So the big problem is that, like I said, they either have lots of fiber or lots of sugar alcohols. And if I were to eat 3 or 4 protein bars at once, that's a lot of fiber or a lot of sugar alcohols, and both of those things will basically make you spend a lot of time on the toilet. So if you want to have a protein bar every day and you can stop at one and it fills you up, I'd say go for it. The Quest ones are great. Ask around as to what flavors. My favorite is cookie dough. Some of their older flavors, like the chocolate brownie or whatever, taste like the texture of Tootsie Rolls, so they're not as good as the newer flavors. but they've come a long way. Cookies and cream is another good one. And like I said, I do enjoy the Quest protein potato chips. You're looking at, like, again, $2.50 a bag if you buy them from like GNC or a grocery store. That's another reason why they're sometimes food for me, is the cost. All right, another question from Mott's. Mott's asks, do you think we should consider taking a multivitamin once a day? I see healthy people in both camps. Some folks swear by it and others don't really care. It seems irritating that you sometimes try to pay attention to that stuff in your normal foods when you're already trying to track protein and calories as well. And Mott's comments that he's just asking since he remembers me saying in a past Q&A that I'm not a big supplement fan. So thank you for the question. That is a good one. This is something I've kind of waffled on back and forth. Initially, when I started my journey, I took vitamins to kind of cover all my bases. And like you said, I'm not a huge supplements fan. I don't currently take a multivitamin. I don't think it can really hurt. There's not really enough data out there about how well we can digest the nutrients that are in a pill form. And I think you're always better getting your nutrients from solid foods. I think that if you're going with the idea of getting vegetables pretty much all day long, you don't need to worry about the nutrients and vitamins you're getting in MyFitnessPal. You should be covering that base basically with, you know, the variety of fruits and vegetables if you're eating some. Vegetables more than fruit in that case. But I do actually take some supplements. I take fish oil, vitamin D, psyllium husk, which is a fiber, just mix it in water, and I take melatonin to go to sleep. I've been considering taking a probiotic if I can find a good one, but I haven't yet. As far as that goes, since I mentioned supplements and preferring from whole foods, I do eat raw, unpasteurized sauerkraut every day because it helps with gut health. And that's a big step for me because I used to hate cabbage in all forms, but now I've actually eat a lot of it. Go figure. So I'd say there's nothing really wrong if you want to take a multivitamin. I don't do it myself because I kind of feel like I'm not really getting any use out of it because I eat a variety of vegetables all day long. So if you feel that it would help you, it's worthwhile trying to see if you feel any better. I can't recommend a specific brand because I don't use it myself currently. So, all right, and another question from Mott's. Mott's asks, how should I deal with feeling impatient or the desire to lose weight at a faster pace? I struggle with focusing on the small goals and seem to always keep losing my focus on the short term and getting frustrated at how much I still need to lose in the big picture. Thanks for asking this, Mott's. This is a great question. So I would say to first, think about how far you've come already. And think about where you were before you got started and where you were mentally, and realize your progress that has happened is more than about just the scale. You have progress in your habits, your mentality, your motivation, your energy. You're working towards something. You've already put a lot of work in. So it's basically time to look back and reflect and say, you know, I've done a damn good job already and I should be proud of myself, and kind of get out of that moment of feeling like you should be racing towards something, because it's not an end goal so much as it is a journey. It's not a race. Beyond that, I would say that it may be helpful to make a pros and cons list of what would happen if you lost weight at a faster pace and what that entails. I would say, you know, get out a piece of paper, actually physically write it down and keep it with you. You can fill in the pros list for yourself because everyone's pros list is going to be a little bit different, and that's going to be tied to your motivation for wanting to be healthier and lose weight in the first place. As far as the cons list, I can give you a couple just to get started. Let's say you lose weight faster. You're likely to be more hungry. You're likely to be more frustrated at the limited food options you'd have by further restricting your calories. When calories come down, protein goes up higher. When calories come up, protein goes lower. So as you lower your calories more to lose weight faster, the protein needs to get higher and higher and higher and higher. So basically, if you want to lose weight faster, your calories are going to come down, but you're going to have way fewer options. As a result of that, your sleep quality will worsen. You also run the risk of having increased loose skin problems the faster you go. And if you use methods for faster fat loss to get to your goal sooner, it's unlikely that you'd be able to stay there for very long because you didn't build the habits necessary to stay at the new weight all along the way. You used a method to get to your goal that is not the method you'd use to stay at your goal. So if you immediately get to your goal and say, I'm done, and then just return to the way you were before, you're going to gain all that weight back and probably then some. So it's important to have a sustainable method that you can, once you get there, that's your method of maintaining your weight. With that said, I can certainly help you or anyone lose weight faster. It's kind of outside the parameters of a team offering, and it would be a crash diet. I've been there, I've done it myself before, and I know how to do it safely, and I know that it does work, but I was miserable the whole time. While you're doing it, if you have any emotional issues with food or food cravings, they may get worse instead of better as a result. Most people find that happens, but the amount of progress they're seeing so rapidly kind of lets them push through that. But again, once you get to that goal weight, those food issues now have been amplified, and you have to deal with them later instead of now, slowly at a fast. So you're also dealing with the food issues all at once when you don't have those habits in place to kind of help you through them. So with that said, if that's something you kind of want to explore, let me know. We can talk about that. But I do think that reflecting upon your progress and physically writing down your pros and cons about faster fat loss will kind of help you regain that focus towards a short-term goal and kind of put that longer-term goal out of memory. For now, it's important to just focus on the short-term goals. If you find that none of this is working, I would recommend closer short-term goals, so that you're able to just rapidly hit them, maybe even once a week, just so that you have something to look forward to as a goal that, hey, look, I made progress, I'm awesome, I've made some missteps, but I'm recovering from them, and I'm learning, and I'm doing well. So if we need to do that, please let me know, and we'll definitely go that route. All right. That was all of the submitted questions. Let me just kind of click around here. Alrighty, I do not see any other submitted questions. So thank you everyone for submitting questions. I appreciate the variety that were asked this week. I hope we can kind of continue that trend because I enjoy answering questions from all different kind of areas. That's more enjoyable for me that way. And like I said, please give me some feedback. Let me know if my answers are helping you, and we can kind of go from there. And I'll be talking to everyone soon. Everyone have a great week and have a good night. Bye-bye.